So I just saw this story and I need to break this down because it is without question one of the most absurd things to happen in K-pop this year. Here's the situation. Some NewJeans fans are so pressed that their favorites lost their lawsuit and had to stay with ADOR that they've started spamming South Korea's Ministry of Culture with faxes. Yeah, you heard that right. Faxes in 2025. They're claiming the company is tormenting the members, manipulating public opinion, and playing favorites with Haerin and Hye-in. And because these complaints were formally submitted, the ministry is now legally required to investigate. The irony here is so thick, you could cut it with a knife. These fans think they're protecting their idols, but what they're actually doing is creating massive complications for these women's futures in this industry. But here's what they actually filed. The complaints allege that ADOR is creating a hostile work environment for the members. They claim the company is showing favoritism, specifically toward Haerin and Hye-in, while supposedly tormenting the other three. There are accusations of malicious public opinion manipulation. And all of this triggered a mandatory government investigation because South Korean law requires the Ministry of Culture to look into formal complaints. So, now government officials have to investigate K-pop drama because fans learned how to use a fax machine. The fax spam strategy worked exactly as intended. Flood the system with enough complaints and you force bureaucratic action. But here's the thing. No public evidence was attached to any of these complaints. No documents, no recordings, nothing concrete, just accusations from angry fans. And the members themselves didn't file these complaints. Complete strangers to the actual employment relationship are demanding government intervention in a private business matter. To understand why fans went this far, you need to know who started this mess. Min Hee-jin was the founding CEO of ADOR and the creative mastermind behind NewJeans' entire concept. She built them from the ground up. But then came the power struggle with HYBE, the parent company. The corporate politics got ugly, and Min Hee-jin was eventually removed from her position. And here's where it all went sideways. The NewJeans members publicly backed Min Hee-jin against their own employer. They chose sides in a corporate war, which, from a professional standpoint, looks incredibly risky. This allegiance to a fired executive is the real source of all the broken trust claims you keep hearing about. Min Hee-jin positioned herself as the members' protector, which encouraged fans to see this as good versus evil rather than corporate restructuring. The fans took that narrative and ran with it, turning standard business decisions into an abuse story. And this set a concerning ripple effect. Now you have idols thinking that creative vision somehow overrides their binding obligations. That's not how professional industries operate, and that allegiance triggered a reputation collapse. Let's look at the timeline. In 2024, NewJeans were rising stars with everything going for them. By the end of 2024, they'd filed a failed lawsuit trying to break their agreements. Now, in 2025, they're the subject of a government investigation. The press conferences they held backfired spectacularly. Instead of garnering sympathy, they made the members look entitled to many Korean observers. The Korean general public, not just K-pop fans, but regular people, largely turned against them. They went from being seen as talented young artists to troublemakers who were challenging their company unsuccessfully. The failed lawsuit sealed that perception. So now they're associated with lawsuits, government investigations, and corporate conflict. The transformation is striking. From talented artists with a bright future to a cautionary tale about industry disputes. And no other major K-pop group in recent memory has had this level of government entanglement over employment disputes. But surely there's actual proof justifying all this, right? Well, no public evidence has surfaced so far. No leaked documents showing mistreatment. No witness testimony from staff members or producers who work with them. The favoritism claim falls apart under basic scrutiny. Fans say Haerin and Hye-in are being favored, but what actually happened from a business perspective? 2 members continued working professionally without public conflict. 3 members created complicated legal and PR situations. Is it favoritism when a company works more smoothly with employees who aren't actively in dispute with them? What fans are calling proof is literally just business decisions they personally don't like. And the courts already examined these agreements. A judge reviewed everything and ruled the terms were valid. If there was substantial mistreatment happening, the members had lawyers who would have presented that evidence in court. What we're seeing is professional consequences being reframed as victimization. So, with nothing concrete public, how is this investigation even happening? Because the courts already ruled on this. The case is legally closed. But fans found a loophole. They're using administrative complaints to trigger new reviews. The ministry is required to investigate these complaints regardless of merit. This is the facts loophole in action. Organized campaigns figured out that making enough noise through official channels can force government attention even after court decisions. Think about what this means. Any group of determined people with fax machines can now trigger investigations into settled legal matters. The members didn't ask for this intervention. They didn't file these complaints. Outside parties are demanding the government step into a private employment situation that courts already addressed. And the fans behind this think they're helping. But here's what's actually happening, and this is the genuinely concerning part. Fans are claiming to protect these members while potentially damaging their professional prospects. Government investigation associations become part of your professional profile. Companies tend to avoid working with artists whose supporters trigger government agencies when they're unhappy. That's basic risk management. The endorsement deals NewJeans had could be affected by ongoing controversies. Brands typically don't want association with drawn-out disputes. Future collaborations with other artists and producers become complicated. Other agencies are watching this situation closely, and many are likely thinking this represents massive risk. The fans have potentially created the exact problematic environment they claim to be opposing. They've made it harder for these women to work normally in their industry. And here's what's particularly tough about this. Some members stayed professional through everything, while others chose more public confrontation. Now everyone's future is affected by these collective decisions. The fans are treating these grown women like they need internet strangers to rescue them, but these members made their own business decisions. They chose their approach. And supporters not allowing them to face the natural consequences isn't protection, it's removing their agency. When companies draft new agreements or discuss professional conduct, this situation will likely come up. The fan allegiance may have inadvertently created long-term complications nobody intended. From ADOR's perspective, this creates an incredibly difficult situation. You have members split on how they've approached the conflict, plus a fanbase that launches government investigation campaigns. These constant external pressures aren't a sustainable business environment. Can this group even function effectively anymore when trust has broken down on multiple sides? Every business decision now carries the risk of another campaign and more bureaucratic involvement. Group activities have been essentially frozen. They're not making music or promoting, just ongoing legal and administrative drama. That's not what anyone signed up for. So, what does this mean for K-pop? This situation affects more than just NewJeans. It's a test case for what happens when supporters figure out they can trigger investigations through administrative channels. Other fandoms are watching and learning these tactics right now. Next time any group has a contract dispute, we might see the same playbook. This represents a shift in the boundaries between artists and their supporters. 5 genuinely talented women with incredible potential have become the center of legal and governmental processes instead of making music. Think about what this represents. They could be breaking records and building legendary careers. Instead, they're in headlines about investigations and disputes. Nobody actually wins in situations like this. Professional opportunities become uncertain. Company relationships are damaged, industry patterns get established that may affect future artists. Because fans demanded everything, they demanded government intervention and validation. But the one thing that actually matters, their favorites' ability to thrive professionally, that's the thing most at risk. Sometimes the biggest obstacles aren't companies or contracts. Sometimes they're the supporters who can't distinguish between helping and complicating.